One day in a little toy shop, buy a pack of balloons with the money we got, set them free at the break of dawn. So one by one they were gone. Back at base, bugs in the software flash the message, something's out there, floating in the summer sky. 99 red balloons go by. There's something here from somewhere else. The war machine springs to life, opens up one eager eye, focusing it on the sky where 99 red balloons go by. 99 Decision Street, where 99 ministers meet to worry, super scurry, call the troops out in a hurry. This is what we've waited for. This is it, boys, this is war. The president is on the line as 99 red balloons go by. Right, super high-tech jet fighters. Everyone's a superhero. Everyone's a Captain Kirk, with others to identify, to clarify and classify. Scramble in the summer sky as 99 red balloons go by. As 99 red balloons go by. 99 dreams I have had, in every one a red balloon. It's all over and I'm standing pretty in this dust that was a city. If I could find a souvenir just to prove the world was here. And here is a red balloon, I cry for peace and let it go.
If there be but 100 of us remain alive, never shall we under any condition be brought under anybody's idea of a new world order. It is in truth not for honor, nor for glory, nor for riches that we are fighting, but for freedom. That one thing which no honest person would give up, save except with life itself. Once we were warrior poets. For now, we must stand for peace. But if you hear my voice today, you are the resistance, and our time is coming. It's great to have the gang all back. Alex, Glenn, how are you both?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
I like hearing that. I like hearing Alex say not too bad. It does not matter what's happening in Alex's life. She's always not too bad. And I love her for it. Yeah, and likewise, I'm not too bad. Thank you.
Good. Excellent show on Friday night, Glenn. Really enjoyed it. Great to have the professor back, and it's family first on the show all the time, every time. So that's how it goes, and that's how it will always be. So it's a mad, crazy world. It's where do I start? Right, okay. You know, Israel or Russia? Russia. Let's go with let's start with Russia. Okay. So another win for the conspiracy theorists. When I told you back in 2022 about the 40 odd biolabs that the US, the CIA had in Ukraine that were specifically targeting Slavs, i.e., Russians. Well, that was just a crazy conspiracy theory, except now Tulsi Gabbard, who stayed on deliberately a month beyond when she announced her resignation, just dropped the bombshell that not only were they very real, but they've been moved to Africa. And they've been making lots of interesting things like, oh, I don't know, Ebola. Funny that. What was the other one they tried? Yeah, Glenn, it's just, I mean, we're going to have to come up with some new conspiracy theories soon because they keep getting proved right, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a matter of the time lag between revelation and confirmation. That seems to be and everybody seems to accept that. Oh yeah, what? But yeah, biolabs, yeah. Well, never mind. I'm sure there's something. Well, we can watch the World Cup, can't we? We can watch this farce that's going on right now. But not being a football fan, obviously, it means nothing to me. Anyway, probably get on to that. But yeah, we'll just move them to Africa, where there's a nice, handy population to try out whatever we cook up on, and force vaccinations on people. Yeah, just another day at the office.
Alex, absolutely. Alex, I mean, is Alex frozen? No, she's there.
No.
No, I thought you'd frozen.
Yeah, it's a slight delay, I think, again. Not too bad. Yeah, it's insane. There's always been that delay between us saying it and it being proven right. And then they just move the goalpost because you're a crazy conspiracy for saying this, and then you're a crazy conspiracy for opposing this. Can't you see we need these things? Can't you see these are just making steps forward? It's advancement in medical knowledge. And I don't even know if that level we've got to that yet, but that will be the next stage as to why these are a good thing, as to why we need them, as to why you're making a mountain out of a molehill, and how you're taking it all wrong and misunderstanding it all. And that's again and again and again, over and over.
Back around, must have been about 2010, 2011. I actually I started work on a couple of books that ended up never getting written because I didn't have internet connection and stuff. I didn't have a laptop. But one of the books that I was going to write, I called AIDS. And I called it AIDS, but it was an acronym. And it was Aryan Inflicted Doomsday Serum. And in the book, I had Mengele going to Africa to experiment and releasing the AIDS virus, knowing that it would get back to Europe, but the idea being to give the Aryans enough time to come up with a vaccine for it. Life's stranger than fiction, I'm finding every fucking day. Well, at least we've gotten rid of the inky-fingered Gringotts Clark John Healy. Him and his junior, the Armed Forces Minister, they up and resigned this week because stating that Starmer, while giving billions of aid to Ukraine, is basically doing jack shit for the Ministry of Defence at a time when we're facing increasing threats. Well, the UK military, Glenn, is in one hell of a sorry state. We sent a minesweeper to the Gulf of Hormuz, and it broke down before it got to the Med. We were sending one of our mighty aircraft carriers, the Prince of Wales, I do believe, but it broke down, I think, before it managed to cross the channel. Last week, not one single UK submarine was in the water. Not any of our 4 missile-carrying, Polaris-carrying submarines, and none of our attacks. Not one. They were all in dry dock. Every single motherfucking one. And our beloved Air Force, Glenn, is in an equally sorry state with a dilapidated fighting capacity beyond anything that we ever saw in the Cold War.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And yet, the mighty queer Starmer, well, he thought it was a good idea this very morning to send Royal Marines to hijack, I've got my pirate t-shirt on today, to hijack, like a fucking pirate, a Russian oil tanker traversing the English Channel. One of these old days, we are going to poke the bear, and the bear is going to swipe back. Do you not think so, Glenn?
Yeah, I mean the whole thing has become it's a spectacle of not only Starmer but all the other European puppets strutting around on what they think is the world stage, like, you know, oh, look at us, yeah, we must prepare for this war with Russia that we're trying to push us into, by the way, but without mentioning that. And you know, our mighty armies and air force and navies will be able to defeat this imminent threat by 2030, guaranteed. Well, that's a good date to set, isn't it? 4 years away, and yet we've got a naval fleet that resembles Captain Pugwash rather than anything else. We've got an air force.
If only.
Yeah, if only. Well, at least Captain Pugwash could float. Yeah. But yeah,
more
we've
like
got
the fucking Parahandi.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the Parahandi. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We are not only. We can't even punch above our weight. We're not even capable of delivering any meaningful impact on anyone, really. But yet we talk a good game, or at least we would if our defence ministers could even agree, and if our defence ministers could even stay in post long enough, or were fit to be in that post in the first place. But there you go.
Yeah. Alex, I mean, how is Starmer still in fucking office besides anything?
Up to very, very recently, wouldn't be. I mean, go back a decade and he would have resigned months ago, maybe even years ago. Go back even 5 years, he should be gone by now. Even to the end of the Tories, he should be gone by now. But he just clings on and clings on and clings on. And now they seem to be making him cling on until they can get Andy Burnham, or whatever his name is, into a position that he can actually take over from him. And then it's just one exchanging the frying pan for the fire, like it is every time.
He's more fucking he's more persistent than a fucking limpet, the cunt. I mean, and people like Yvette Cooper, you know, and they're posting, oh, wow, what a wonderful day for Britain. We've fucking stolen a Russian tanker. Oh, yes, and what's Russia going to do? But all the European three are up to it. I was telling my brother-in-law just yesterday, we were discussing this, and it's very clear what's happening. Very, very clear what's happening. On the battlefields, Ukraine is losing and losing badly. The last two fortress cities in the Donbass are about to fall. Konstantinovka has already fallen. Once those two are gone, there is nothing between the Russian forces in the northeast and the Dnieper River. Meanwhile, in the Zaporizhzhia area, Russia is grinding forward. In the Sumy region, Russia is grinding forward. They're staging in Sumy, ready for an attack on Kherson and probably Kiev. Russia now has air supremacy over Ukrainian skies, and they're using it. The gloves are well and truly off. There is now a rolling bombardment of missiles, drones, and simple, good old-fashioned gravity bombs. Because they have air supremacy, Russian attack helicopters can now overfly Russian troops, meaning that any advantage FPV drones had are gone. But in the face of that, what we have is the so-called European three, that's Britain, France, and Germany, still giving billions to the most corrupt fucking regime on earth, and openly, and ever more openly Nazi regime, to the Coke King in Kiev. Except he's never in fucking Kiev, because if he was, he'd be dead. The people of Ukraine increasingly are turned against him, have turned against this regime. There's a fifth column in Odessa. To the west of Ukraine, if his fucking press gangs turn up, the people are coming out with fucking shovels to beat them off. So the panic in the E3 is attempting to do everything it can to get Russia to strike a European country. Whether it's Starmer stealing this oil tanker, whether it's Mertz. Now, here's the thing, folks, and let's just be perfectly straight up about this. At the end of World War II, the surrender documents that Germany signed forbade Germany from ever remilitarizing to the point where they could strike out with their borders. They were only allowed a defensive force. Germany is now in breach of those surrender documents. Those surrender documents were accepted, and when the United Nations was set up, they were adopted by the United Nations. Russia could legally, by virtue of those surrender documents, strike Germany anytime it likes, legally. And then we've got Macron, and Starmer, Macron, and Merz all have popularity ratings that are in the fucking toilet, literally in single fucking figures. But Macron, now remember, I warned you about this from the beginning of this war, and it will be the flashpoint, I think. Macron's French military, the Polish military, and the mighty fucking village masquerading as a country, Lithuania, are about to conduct, from the 16th of this month, military maneuvers, guess where? The Suwalki Gap. The Suwalki Gap, which connects Belarus with the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad. Kaliningrad, that we've had NATO military talking about how easy it would be for them to take Kaliningrad with 1 million Russian fucking civilians, as well as a large Russian military presence. So the game is to get Russia to attack something European so that they can cry Article 5, so that they can get the United States re-engaged in this war. The problem that they have is there is no fucking way on earth that Donald Trump is going to swap Boston for Belfast, or fucking New York for London, or Frankfurt for Philadelphia, or any other fucking American city. It's just not going to happen. Alex, it's so simple, it's so clear what their strategy is, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's like they don't have, well, it's like they only have a single playbook that they can use, and they just use it over and over again. And sooner or later, sooner or later, they will poke the bear enough that it has to strike, and they will, even if that strike is legal, even if that strike is justified, they will narrate it. They will create a narrative that tries to justify a European intervention, because if they don't intervene, Ukraine's gone. It doesn't have the forces to keep going. It's gone. It already is, but it's gone in all real senses. And unless they can get European troops on the ground, they cannot continue that.
Well, the Europe, the Euro fucking Nazis, at least the European nations have recognized just how moronic fucking Kaja fucking Kalas is.
Yes.
And they're now moving to strip the EU of its diplomatic powers and to downgrade the European Union's diplomatic office, because, quite frankly, no one likes Kaja Kallas. Not even little Marco Narco Rubio will meet with Kaja fucking Kallas. But Europe, the great bastion of democracy, where if you're in Romania or one of these countries and you happen to choose the wrong person, well, we'll just annul that election. We'll do a do-over. How dare you fucking pick someone that might actually be reasonable? So instead, they are pressurizing Serbia, Armenia, and Georgia. Hey, Glenn, it's only a matter of time before Russia has to respond, as Karganov has said, in a way to restore Russian military deterrence, because the Europe is acting as if Russia is not the biggest nuclear power on the planet, and they can do whatever they fucking want, and Russia will just take it on the chin like a good old boy.
Yeah. It's a strategy very much reliant on Russian patience, on Russian the ability of Russia to act like a stone and let nothing, nothing penetrate it. But even a saint has a limit at which they can take no more. And I believe have pushed so hard. We have pushed so many times. We've tried and tried and tried to get this war going. That if Russia doesn't respond, we will invent some way to make it look as if they have. And then we're into massive false flag territory. Oh, I don't know, maybe some convenient nuclear facility gets hit. Maybe, I don't know, maybe some government building gets targeted by Russians. And the irrelevance that is Europe will then spring into action. But yeah, I think we're very close to that edge now.
The German in Buckingham Palace, masquerading as a king of this country, had his birthday, and Kate Middleton was quite annoyed because the crowd booed as her and her two sons were driven along in their golden fucking carriage. I think that says something about the mood of the British people. And I hope we're getting to the point where we throw off this lunacy called these leeches that dare to call themselves majestic. But who knows? Glenn, do me a favour, mate. Makes sense what's happening in the Middle East, because I can't fucking. I mean, I'm getting whiplash from it's I mean it's deal on, deal off, deal on, deal off. It's fucking front to crack. Make what's happening?
We're really living in a post-truth world now, anyway. What's true and what's not true, it doesn't really matter. I mean, we have, I don't know, there have been 39 supposed deals with Iran. Trump has magnificently put forward these 39 deals, which Iran have always agreed to every single time. But somehow the Iranians don't seem to realize this. And when asked, say, well, we don't know anything about any deal, come back to us next week. And again, like I said, this is we're living in a post-truth world. We're living in a world where the Europeans imagine that they can take on Russia, can defeat Russia. That I don't know, pick anywhere, and you will see the absence of truth. So, no, I can't make any sense of it apart from in the fact that we're just in that reverse world. We are on the other side of the looking glass, and that's where that's where we're going to stay.
Honestly, Glenn, I think you're right. We're in the what was it called in Stranger Things? The upside down. We are well through the fucking looking glass now. So, my latest understanding, and you guys think I've got my finger on the pulse. Trust me, I've got fucking whiplash, right? My latest understanding is this. Now, in principle, there is what's called a memorandum of understanding. That's not a peace deal. That's just here are the broad outlines of what would be acceptable to negotiate on. Okay? That Iran has put forward. It includes releasing all its frozen assets. It includes the unsanctioning of Iranian oil. It includes the US fucking off out of the region. And it says, look, we don't want a nuke. We've never wanted a fucking nuke, but you ain't getting our uranium. Now, strategic oil reserves, which is what's kept the whole fucking bally game ticking along up to this point, without it all going to hell in a handbasket, they're now running on fumes, literally running on fumes. Trump is backed into a corner. If the Straits of Hormuz do not open toot fucking sweet, then we are facing an economic catastrophe the likes of which the world has never fucking seen, including famine, starvation, rationing, the whole fucking 9 yards. JD Vance has been working with the Pakistanis and the Kuwaitis to get a deal. It looks like we are close to an understanding, but only because quietly America has had to capitulate on all Iranian demands. Iran has won this fucking war. Simple. But the giant Oompa Loompa in the White House, it's his birthday. He likes to have a grand ceremony, and he wanted a grand signing ceremony in Geneva today, and he was told to fuck off. So instead, he's just going to have to sell for his mixed martial arts cage match on the White House lawn. I mean, you might as well be at the Roman fucking Colosseum at this stage. Bread and circuses and the World Cup. Hurrah to Scotland, who won 1-0 last night against the mighty fucking Haiti. The pub down the fucking street stayed open. And the cunts fucking gathered to watch it. Me, I was in bed for fucking midnight. It's bread and circuses on a grand scale. But of course, the problem is, while all this is going on, we have the Israelis, the Zion Nazis. And Benjamin Netanyahu is deeply in trouble politically. In fact, he's facing the prospect of an election which he will lose. But he will lose it to more hardliners than he is. People that make Smotrich and Ben Gvir look like fucking liberals. This little genocidal fucking country that no one can fucking criticize is determined to get World War III off and fucking running. To wit, just before we went live, they're back bombing Beirut. They're back killing innocent civilians in Beirut just to sabotage the peace deal. Iranian missiles are starting to rain down on Israel. If they can sabotage this peace deal, they will. Alex, Glenn, what do you think?
It's at the moment it's kind of Donald put the kettle on and Bibi took it off again when it comes to peace, because whatever they do, it just gets destroyed by Bibi's actions and by Israel being unable to keep a ceasefire, and they never have been able to keep one. But I'm starting to wonder if even Trump's intention is to try and get the Nobel Peace Prize next year by having ended and reached a peaceful solution in Iran at least 9 times. Because he's ended this so many times that it's getting ridiculous. You can't believe anything that's said whatsoever. But it's never going to be solved in a way that's going to benefit the US. And for all their claims of having won and all the hype and all the claims, if they do reach a peace deal, it will be in Iran's favor. Even the I forgot what you just called it, but even the preliminary agreements to negotiate are in Iran's favor. it's going to end up with either tolls paid on the straits or something in that thing. It's going to end up with sanctions dropped or frozen assets released that have been frozen way before the current conflict. It's going to end up in their favour, and that tells me that the US have not come anywhere close to achieving what they claim they have.
Well, Qatar is brokering a lot of this. They have already handed over about $3 billion in reparations, you could say. They are looking at handing over another $12 billion in payment for the Iranian frozen assets that the US won't release. Everyone's desperate to get back to doing business. But Israel just wants to kibosh the whole thing. Glenn,
You are
am I
not
right?
wrong. You are not wrong at all there. Trump, in a way, is like a man with his nuts in a vice. He's a very rich man now. I mean, he's made him and his family have made an absolute fortune from this from the oil crisis, with all of his to-ing and fro-ing every Sunday, and strangely enough, you know, members of his family making money. But I think his personality, personally, he needs a win. He cannot be seen not to have won. So he needs to frame what will be an essentially a capitulation, because the situation with Iran will not go back to what it even was before the Americans and the Israelis started a war. So it will be a from the sort of West's point of view, a worse situation than it was before, and Iran will be that much the stronger. But at the same time, as even if that gets off the ground, you have, as you say, you've got the Israelis determined to wreck any deal, any kind of ceasefire, any kind of resolution to this conflict, which they so desperately want. And Netanyahu needs to keep wars going in order to fend off the wolves that he is now surrounded by. I don't think that's going to work. I think he will be out, and I do think he will be replaced by someone or some faction that is even more Zionistic than the Likud party. You know, be that Ben Gvir, be that Bezalel Smotrich, be that someone even worse. But they will not give up on Lebanon. They will not. They have seen the opportunity to exploit their plans, their long-laid plans to invade Lebanon, to capture Lebanon, and to hold it. And that is what they want. And so somehow Trump has to square all of that circle. And I think that's a job that cannot be done. It cannot be done. Whatever Israel is what it is, it cannot be done.
Kudos to Russell Syme for coming up with a bit of great rhyming slang there. The 4x2s. We just call them Zion Nazis, Russell. But yes, and Glenn covered that very nicely on Friday night. So if you haven't seen Glenn's show from Friday, The Man in Black, go and watch that. It was he lays it out for you, the entire history of how the Zion Nazis stole Palestinian land, and then said, we don't care that you've got the documents, we don't care that you've got the deeds, we don't care that you've got we're just making it illegal anyway. So we're just going to steal it because it's pirate time. But again, the Zion Nazis only have one strategy, and that is to get the United States involved.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Whether it's the European Nazis or the Zion Nazis or the Nazi fucking Nazis,
It's
it
Nazis
would
all
seem the Fourth Reich wants their war. Well, we'll see what's going to happen. Folks, if you think all of that is weird enough, stick with us because we're about to transition into the lone gunman. And when we do, you will need, I'm telling you, before we even play the song, you are going to need some fucking strong alcohol to get through the next part of what we're going to look at. But stick with us, and Alex, play the song, please.
See him wasted in the saddle. He comes riding through your town. He's wearing yesterday's misfortunes like a smile. Once he had a future full of money, love, and dreams, but he spent like it was going out of style. But he just keeps on believing that for better or for worse, he's searching for a shrine he's never found. Never knowing if believing is a lesson or a curse, or if going up is worth coming down. He's a poet and a picker. He's a prophet and a pusher. He's a pilgrim and a preacher, and a problem when he's stoned. He's this walking contradiction, partly truth and partly fiction. He's taken every wrong direction on a lonely road back home. He has tasted good and evil in the bedrooms and the bars. He's traded in tomorrows for today. He's running from his demons and he's reaching for the stars, leaving everything he's loved along the way. And the world just keeps on turning, so for better or for worse, all he ever gets is older and around. From the rocking of his cradle to the rolling of the hearse, going up's not worth coming down. But he's a poet and a picker. He's a prophet and a pusher. He's a pilgrim and a preacher, and a problem when he's stoned. He's this walking contradiction, partly truth, he's partly fiction. He's taken every wrong direction on a lonely road back home.
Welcome, pilgrims. We know you have got to be exhausted from traversing this world, which has truly gone fucking insane. The internet is full of shysters, shoosters, AI bots, AI fakes. Buy me a coffee, be my patron, put money in my hat, George Galloway. It's all a load of fucking nonsense out there. And it's getting harder and harder by the hour to discern reality from idiocy. But it's getting to be a strange, mad old world. And this afternoon, the lone gunman is going to ride again. Buckle up. Alex, I hope you've got some of those expos just to prove to people that I'm not making this shit up, right? Now, here's just a short slice of the craziness going on in the world at the moment. They have scientists discovered a mycelial network that has literally quadrillions, that's more than even I can count, more than probably even Alex can count, of miles underneath the Earth's surface. Have you got that exposed, Alex? There we go. See, I'm not making this shit up. Now, we all said, oh my God, that's exactly like, what did you say it was, Glenn?
Yeah, it's like the network that you see in Avatar, and you said yeah, and also the mycelial network that they had in Star Trek Discovery, I think it is, where they could use it to travel somehow. But yeah, it's a very simple, well, same thing really.
And then they gave a mushroom and mycelia there, that's fungus. Yeah. They gave a mushroom. They put a mushroom into a robotic body. No computer chips involved. Have you got that one, Alex? If you don't worry.
Not sure.
And this thing started fucking moving all on its own. Don't worry if you've not got it, Alex.
No, I haven't got that one.
Don't worry. You don't have this one either because I probably forgot to send it to you. But they ran a simulation where they gave AI control of the planet, and within 3 fucking days, it destroyed it. It blew the whole fucking thing up. 3 days. Now that's going to become quite important for you. I think you've got this one, Alex. They downloaded or uploaded a fruit fly's brain into a computer, and it's continuing on in the simulation quite fucking happily. I think Alex has got that and is trying to bring it up, because I want you to know this is all real shit. That's it. I'm not making any of it up. Well, here we go. There you go. There you fucking go. Now, the thing about this one is, this is the first step towards them being able to upload human consciousness onto a server, which is part of the transhumanist agenda. Because if they can upload their consciousness to the machine and give the machine a robotic body, then in essence they've achieved immortality. Is that not right, Alex? So that's pretty much the end game of what they're going for here.
Yeah, that was my first response when you shared that one, to be fair. You've got to stop this aim for immortality. Or can we upload them all into one computer and send them to Mars?
Mm-hmm. If only. Now, we talked about the World Cup. I don't know if you've got these or not, but interesting opening ceremonies. In Mexico, the Mexican opening ceremony, they displayed the nuclear sign. You know the one I mean. There you go. Yes, the radiation sign. Why the fuck would you have that at the World Cup, Glenn? And here's an even better question, and I don't think we've got the slide for it because, again, it's me, it's my fault, I don't care. The US opening ceremony portrayed a blackout, an EMP blackout. Glenn, what are they doing?
Yeah, they're saying it without saying it. There's a history now of these opening ceremonies being a sort of a peek into what's coming. I mean, go all the way back to the 2012 Olympics with the dancing nurses and giant syringes and death strutting around the. This is I don't know whether this is Enochian magic or whatever it is, but this is definitely the same thing happening again. You're seeing these representations of whatever mad fucking Nazis basically want to bring about, and that the interesting thing you pointed out about the if we could bring that nucleus one up again, Alex. The interesting thing that Ian pointed out was the fact that the whole thing is going outwards. They kind of sort of look like little representations of flowers, but that radiation is coming from the center. So maybe that represents an explosion or some kind of nuclear accident or something like that. I don't know, but that's definitely a direction that it's showing there. Kind of little firework type explosions coming off. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's just mad conspiracy, but it certainly looks that way. But yeah.
Well, a university has come up with a touchable hologram.
Oh.
So a hologram that you can actually reach out and touch, and it responds to your touch. There we go. See, I'm not making any of this stuff up. Toyota just revealed, and here's another block off the conspiracy list. You can take that, Alex. Thank you. Toyota's just revealed a car engine that runs on water. Like the water engines that have been around since the 1940s, that they kept killing the inventors of and stealing the patents for. But now suddenly, in the middle of an oil crisis, Toyota thinks, well, maybe it's a good idea to reveal that we got this thing. Trump has announced that they're opening a UAP science council to be chaired by none other than the Israeli scientist Avi Loeb. This year's El Nino, which is already developing way before it should, they're saying is the worst since 1877. In 1877, 20 million people fucking died from famine. Just saying. A Brazilian psychic has said that during Scotland's match with Brazil later this month, a alien mothership is going to turn up and abduct several million people. Quite frankly, the way the world is, maybe she's right. Maybe she's fucking right. Because, Alex, and we'll go to the last one, because this has really got my head scratching. Here's a picture that is sending the internet ablaze. And now, Glenn, you're laughing, but I've run this. Other people have run this. Alex has run this. This is not AI generated. Now, since this picture first appeared, because it was published on the White House website and then taken down very quickly, but since this picture first appeared, there's been a gamillion. AI has taken it and they've made fakes all over the place. They've got these guys meeting fucking Xi Jinping and Putin. They've got Marco Rubio as one of these guys. They're trying to say that what this is this was something like the fucking King of Norway's ceremonial guard. I don't think so. I don't fucking think so. But what I can tell you, no, Lisa, it's not AI. That's what I'm telling you. This goal is not AI. Alex, you tell me, what, and this, yeah, disclosure day is out, yeah. Alex, what do you make of this?
I don't know what to make of it. It's definitely not. They've run it through all the tests they are, and there's something like 0.05% chance of it being AI generated. It's not AI generated. They came up with the whole the King's Guard of Norway. It's not true because their uniforms are black, and the images they put out to say it was one of the sequence of all of those images are AI, but this one isn't. Whatever this is, there's something weird in this, because the height, I mean, yes, you got the guy he's talking to, but when you look at the guy next to him, you've got quite a lot of height. You've got a hell of a pale skin tone, and you've got, I don't know, whatever it is, it's questionable. It could be somebody in makeup. It could be somebody, I don't know, albino society, who knows? But there's something questionable about this and why it's suddenly appearing. It's not AI, it's not photoshopped. And as someone who's turned Trump into anything from the Tango Man to an Oompa Loompa, I know what to look out for when an image is photoshopped, because the layering is wrong. But it's not either.
So ostensibly, that looks like a couple of Nordics. That
was why they did the Norway thing. But
yeah, I think that's the Norway. Yeah, the Norway connection. Norway Nordics. Yeah, that fits all the descriptions. They're tall. You know, they've got this white hair. I don't know about the uniforms. I don't know what uniform that is or represents or anything like that. I mean, to me, that looks obviously like, I don't know, somewhere at the White House, in the White House gardens somewhere. Most bizarre.
Well, pays your money, takes your chances.
Yeah.
They say yes, Nordics, because part of the ongoing disclosure from the White House is that they're saying there's 4 identifiable alien races.
Mm-hmm.
Nordics, Greys, Insectoids, and Reptilians. This isn't me saying this is the White House saying it. So yes, they're trying to push perhaps that these are Nordics. Maybe the same Nordics that allegedly gave the Nazis a helping hand. Boost up in technology, World War II. But here's the other thing I've seen. Drip, drip, drip. They're disclosing that under the ice in Antarctica, they have been discovering. Oh, what did I fucking say years ago? An ancient civilization. These cunts look like they might have just been living underground for a while. I don't know.
Oh.
And could these be what Hitler was looking for the Aryans, blue-eyed, blonde-haired Aryans. Well, I guess we'll find out in the coming days. Alex, you can take it away. There's an agenda going on for sure and certain. That's all I can tell you. But we called this show The Octopus and Alice. Alice, who the fuck is Alice? We all know who Alice is by this point. If you don't, where have you been? So, Alex, let's start with you. I asked you and Glenn to look at certain things this week. And what I asked Alex to look at was, we all remember the .com Babylon bust of the early 2000s. .com was going to be the next big thing that was going to make millionaires and billionaires of everyone. And everyone was gobbling up every .com fucking name they could, thinking they were going to make a fortune. Now, the buzz is all AI. People are losing their jobs for AI. AI, it can do everything better, faster than you can, apparently, but can it? And is AI the next .com crash? Alex, tell people what you were looking at and what you found, please, mate.
Okay, I've been looking at the likelihood that the AI financial bubble is bursting. So I kind of wanted to ask a few things to start with before I got to that question. What is a financial bubble? Let's go back to basics. Is AI a bubble? Because there's some people that argue that it's not a bubble in the first place. And is that bubble bursting, and what will happen if it does burst? So let's start with the first question. What is a financial bubble? Well, to me, a financial bubble is the proof that economics is fake maths. Now, Trump's got his fake news, everything's fake news. Well, to me, economics is fake maths. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. It's not 2 + 2 = 4. Through every mathematical constant, economics doesn't work. The way you make money on the stock market doesn't make sense. The way you can have a completely circular situation where the same person is making money by selling ads to somebody else who's making money by selling ads to somebody else who's making money by selling ads. It doesn't make sense. To me, economics is fake maths. Maybe I just don't understand it. Maybe that's just my excuse for not understanding it. But to me, the whole concept of a bubble proves that theory. But aside from that, the best explanation I found, or the simplest one, was that an economic bubble is a situation in the economy where perceived asset prices and valuations are much higher than the underlying values. But how do they happen? How do you get into that situation? Well, there are all sorts of things that cause it. They say it comes down to herd mentality, that somebody sees something as a good idea, a good plan, and they invest in it. Then somebody else sees that they do it and they jump on the bandwagon. Somebody else, everybody suddenly is looking at the same thing. They say it's caused by short-term thinking, because everybody's looking here and now, what's popular in the here and now, what people are investing in, and what in the here and now they see as a solution, rather than looking long-term. They say it's caused by confirmation bias. You want to invest in this, and you believe in this idea. You see this product, this technology as a way forward, as going to rise and rise and rise. And you only listen to the people that are saying the same. You listen to that same story. That's what you sewn in on. That's what you hear, that's what you see. They also say it's illusory, I can't even say the word, superiority. The idea that if you win, it was your wisdom in seeking this stock out. But if you lose, that was just things outside your control, just the market conditions. So you believe in your ability to suss these things out. So when you see something, you go for it. You've got the old FOMO, and we know they've tried to sell everything from vaccines onwards with FOMO, the whole fear of missing out if you've lived under a rock. The idea that you think, well, I need to get in on this. If I don't get in on this, I could miss the opportunity of a lifetime. And then at the end of the bubble, you get the whole, what they call the greater fall theory. And that's the idea that, well, maybe I'm a bit late jumping on the bandwagon. Maybe I'm a bit late doing this, but there'll still be somebody else I can sell it to. There will be a greater fall out there that will still buy the product at this stage. In short, they're caused by human nature. They're caused by the way our minds work and the way we act. Are they obvious? And what happens with a bubble? Well, they're not obvious at the time. They usually are obvious answers afterwards, But what happens is that it grows and grows and grows, and then it bursts. And they tend to follow a consistent pattern, which pretty much includes 5 stages. Now, it was American economist Hyman Minsky that outlined these stages originally. And they're as follows, and they're all displayed on this graphic. It starts with what they call displacement. And that's the start of it. And that's pretty much normal growth. Investors believe a new economic paradigm is emerging. Now, it can be, but it isn't limited to a new technology. But they see it emerging, and the markets slowly rise. People express an interest, they invest, they speculate. Now, this is then followed by what's called the boom phase. And that's when you see many new interests, very many new entrants into the technology, into the investment. You see massive investment, and you see widespread media coverage. You see big promises announced. And that's when the FOMO, the fear of missing out, kicks in. And it drives more and more people to speculate. And the stocks, the interest, the investment in, because it's not always stocks, but the investment in starts going up massively. Then you have stage 3, which is, they call euphoria. And this is when prices soar, valuations of companies soar. Assets can be valued many, many times above their real intrinsic value. People may remain blinkered through this, though. They're still believing in the whole greater fall theory, that even if it's about to take a downturn, there will still be somebody they can sell it to, somebody else jumping on the bandwagon later, that they can sell it and get their money back. Then you have 4, which is profit taking. It's when people start losing their nerve. They start pulling the profits back out. Investors begin to sell. The market becomes a little irrational. People take profit too early, or they hold on too long, and that upsets the way the market works. And you lead at the end of it to having less trading and more supply in the market. Now, all of which leads to stage 5, panic. Once something triggers stage 5, and it can be an individual company going under, it can be a change in perception, it can be the list of things. Once it's triggered, there's no stopping it. There's no turning back. The bubble has burst, and asset prices fall, valuations of companies fall. Investors sell. and everybody is tripping over everybody else to get out. It leaves you with oversupply, it leaves you with limited demand, and it leaves you with a steep decline in prices. Now, they don't define that little uptick at the end, but if you look at this graph, you'll notice the little dotted line, which takes you from the start to the end. Now, if you followed that line, you have a gradually increasing market. But the thing with a bubble is it has that exponential curve that hits a peak and then comes crashing down. You'll notice two other labels on this graph, a bear trap and a bull trap. Now, I want to know what they were because they weren't defined in the explanation. Now, a bear trap is a situation where investors sell expecting a fall, only for stocks and the value to actually rebound and end up going up. The bull trap is kind of the opposite. It's when investors still think there's going to be a recovery, so they still buy thinking it's going to recover after it's gone slightly down. This is why you get that little second peak after the original peak point of the bubble. You have that second peak because people think it's the bull trap. People think it's going to go back up, but it doesn't. They buy and then it comes crashing down. And the thing is, the economics at the end of the day, as complicated as it gets and as complicated as they make it, as much as they can make money from a circular financial model, it is very basically the seesaw. Economics is basically supply, demand. When one is higher than the other, stock prices change. The values of things change. The valuation of companies change. The profits of companies change. So that was question one. What is a financial bubble? So the question is AI a bubble? Because we're going to ask if it's going to burst, we need to know if it's a bubble to start with. Well, there are arguments for both sides. And these are some of the main ones. The argument for it being a bubble, that massive spending versus revenue, they spend a lot more than they use, projected to spend hundreds of billions in the case of AI on data centers, on chips, on power grids. And the consumer and enterprise revenues still, even to this stage, remain small. But when you value a business, there are different levels depending on the business. They have what they call a standard valuation, and they value a business at 3 times to 5 times the yearly revenue. Now, that's called standard. That tends to be retail businesses. That tends to be small companies, SMEs, where the owner has a significant impact on the company's profitability, how much money the company makes. Then you have the next stage, what they call a strong multiplier, and that's 6 times to 8 times the value of the company. Now, that tends to be existing companies, existing brands, a company with a history. Then you have premium, which is 10 times to 15 times the a multiplier of the revenue of that country. Now, that tends to be technology companies. It tends to be what they call SaaS companies with a software basis, or even a hardware, but it tends to be technology, and it tends to be business to business software packages. Question is that what we're seeing? Are we seeing valuations for these AI companies that are in any of those ranges? Well, let's just look at the 2 big ones. Let's look at Anthropic. They have a valuation since 2026 of $965 billion. Now, against that evaluation, they had a Q1 of 2026 revenue of 4.8 billion. In 2025, mind you, they actually made a loss. But so did they in that first quarter. They had 4.8 billion revenue, but that was still at a loss. The second quarter, 10.9 billion revenue, and they actually made a profit for the first time of $559 million. So the vast majority of that, 10.4 billion of that revenue, is still a loss. So the spending is still considerably higher than what they're making. They did make a profit for the first time in Q2, but a profit of 559 million, even the revenue of 10.9 billion, even if we took that on a generous level and said that it doubled each quarter for the rest of the year, that still gives you a multiplier around the 30+%, when what they consider for business value, the premium level they consider is 10 to 15 times the revenue. Now, you could argue if that keeps going after this year and after, it will catch it up. But bearing in mind that that valuation has been going up year in, year out too, was something like 500 billion last year. So let's look at the second one. Maybe it's just that one company. So let's look at, what happened to, I haven't changed the logo for that one. I forgot to change that. This is actually OpenAI, but I forgot to change the logo. That was, I copied the slide and didn't. 852 billion is OpenAI's valuation. Now they are still making a loss. In 2026, they're predicting they will lose $14 billion. They don't predict that they will be profitable until 2029. So you have a valuation of a company that's, well, it's not even, you've not even got, well, I suppose you've got you've got usage, you've got revenue, because the revenue they're predicting was between 20 and 25 billion. But even if you take that revenue, 25 billion to 850 billion, you're still talking, I didn't work this one out, 8 times 4, you're still talking 32 times multiplier, when the strongest level to value a company they usually use is 10 to 15 times. So that's where we are on the revenue against the costs and the expenditure. That to me would back the theory that this is a bubble. The next one, historical parallels. Well, Ian's already mentioned it, the whole .com bubble. And basically, if you were not paying attention at that stage, it started really with the launch of the World Wide Web, and it caused massive investments. It's like any startup that had a website was classed a good investment. People were investing left, right, and centre in any startup with a web address. Startups were going public and getting investment straight away. Interest rates went up, however, and high-profile companies started collapsing. And the investors, shock horror, decided that they wanted to see profits from their investment. And that saw the crash, the bursting of that bubble. Now, people argue that AI is a bubble, quote that as a historical precedent. And there are massive similarities. The evaluation of companies beyond their intrinsic value, the valuation of their assets, when literally having that .com was an asset and classed as an asset in that company, it didn't hold its value. It didn't keep the bubble going. The third argument is the whole idea of a concentrated risk. Now, this has been argued in a way both ways, because this is the other way in which AI is a bubble. This is the connections between the main AI companies. You've got NVIDIA. NVIDIA's invested $100 billion in OpenAI, which in turn is buying chips from NVIDIA. OpenAI has invested $350 million in CoreWeave, who's also buying chips from NVIDIA and been invested in by NVIDIA. OpenAI is investing in Oracle, who's buying from NVIDIA. Everything is interconnected, but it goes a lot wider. And when you start, the more companies you bring in, the more connections you can see. They're all investing in each other. They're all buying from each other. The whole thing is one insular bubble, keeping and inflating in many ways each other's profitability by their investment and by purchasing from each other. It's holding itself up. It's all controlling itself. And if one element within that was to go down, it's then going to take the whole down with it potentially. Now, it's not a leveraged bubble in the traditional sense, but that interconnectivity proves the bubble side of it, and it proves how much it does rely on a concentrated risk because it's all interconnected. Now, to give this to fair side, the arguments for it not being a bubble is that there is real productivity gains. Now, this is debatable. Yes, AI is good at some things. It's good at pattern spotting. It's good at recognizing things. But I still argue that you could achieve the same things by actually having the right staff in a company to do it. And my personal experience with AI running things is not helpful to the customer in any way, shape, or form. And if you do send anything out, if you deal with delivery companies and you deal with delivery companies investing more and more into AI, then you will probably be having the same nightmare that I'm having. But there's productivity gains. It can do things faster than humans. It can do things without paying wages and without having to pay the rest of the costs. But are they real gains? Because at the end of the day, with the infrastructure costs, is that a real gain? But that's one of the arguments. And the thing that you can see is the revenue is going up. These things are being rolled out into companies. This is the revenue increases for OpenAI and Anthropic over the last few years. And you can see they are rising. It's not gone into the exponential curve that the valuations have gone into. And that's where we still have that discrepancy. And it's not even in OpenAI's case and barely in Anthropic's case crossed over the limit of what they're spending. But there is a rise. There is productivity. There is profits. So the next one is that this is being introduced not by startups. It's not the argument is it's not the dot-com bubble because these aren't startups. It's being pushed by already profitable tech giants. Now, yeah, if you start looking at the other side of AI, if you start looking at things like NVIDIA and you saw how interconnected with all that NVIDIA is, you can see a constant profits. You can see constant growth. But when you look at the AI startups, or not so much startups, but people's expansion into AI, that section doesn't show that same growth. And the final argument is that it's foundational technology. This is the argument that we are not talking about a bubble because you're talking about something like the internet itself. You're not talking the dot-com bubble, you're talking something like the internet itself, or something like the introduction of electricity. And this is the argument that they make. So that's the argument for both sides. I've got to come down on the idea that it is a bubble. The valuation purely of those companies to suggest that it's 30, in some cases, and at 1.47 times their revenue to value the company. That is inflated assets. When you've got other AI companies, when you start looking at the offerings from China, and when you look at things like DeepSeek, you can see the inflation of the values of the Western companies. So that, to me, in and of itself, makes it a bubble. So the question is it going to burst? Which is the real question to start with. But if it's not a bubble, it can't burst. So that's why I needed to look further back. But is it going to burst? Well, to me, if you look at this initial graph, you've got to ask where we are. Well, when you look at the initial values of places like Anthropic, and when you see where they were last year, and when you see where they are to now, we are up the top of this graph. If it's a bubble and a bubble follows this pattern every time, then we are up the top of that graph, and the only way is down. Now, the other interesting side of that is that most of these companies haven't yet floated. So there's still a stage where these will be floated on the stock market. Now, some have, but not a lot of them haven't. A lot of them are still looking at that point in the future. But the question is that going to be soon enough to stop that bubble bursting? Because this, to me, is the question on, is the bubble going to burst? There's an ever-growing gap between investment and profits. Even when those profits are starting to show, there was still another 65 billion just invested. They're still finding investment and raising investment. The gap between the investment, not necessarily the yearly investment, but the overall initial investment, or still by stages, is getting further and further apart. But the market is also already showing volatility. We're already seeing the first companies pull back a bit, or more often than not, we're seeing acquisitions and we're seeing mergers. That volatility is already in the markets. We're already seeing IPO pressures. And my mind's gone completely blank. I've forgotten what it stands for. Initial public offering. The idea, like I said, some of these haven't even launched as yet. And in some of the cases, the launch has been put further and further off, because they know once they put their offering on the market, that market will expect to see profits. You've got a delayed rollout. You've got that literally being put back, and that is also delaying any return on investment. But if that return on investment is being delayed by the costs of investment, the cost of literally from the data centers to the chips to everything they need to roll it out. So you've got a delayed rollout, and you've also got a delayed on any returns, which is one of the reasons for delaying the companies going public. And that comes back to the resource costs, because they are everything AI is very resource heavy. The data centers that we are seeing going up everywhere, the costs of running those data centers, maybe not just financially, but other costs and everything. And I don't want to get too far into that, but the cost of those resources, whether that's data centers, whether that's power to run them, or whether that's simple things like the chips, etc. The resource costs are so high, or they are percentage is so high, because it still occurs to me on how cheaply China has built DeepSeek compared to Anthropic, as compared to OpenAI, compared to XAI and all of the other ones in the West. All of these suggestions, all of these points are already being seen. If it's a bubble, which to me every suggestion is that it is, I've got to say that it is a question of when it bursts, not if it bursts. But what happens at that point? Because this is what's perhaps misunderstood by people. You had the dot-com bubble, but it didn't stop you having the internet. It didn't stop you having internet companies. It didn't stop the growth of online trading. That graph doesn't stop at the point the bubble bursts. It still rebounds a little bit. The bubble will burst. I say it will burst. I was going to say may burst, but I would say will. But the bubble may burst, but it's still going to see the growth of AI. It's not going to see AI be removed. It's not going to see the end of AI. So if we are hoping for a bubble to burst to think that's the end of AI, that isn't going to happen. What it could do, what it's more likely to do, is to send countries, or many countries, into recession, possibly into depression, create the financial collapse that has been on the cards for so long. But it will not stop the continuation, even necessarily the growth of AI.
Brilliant, Alex. Yeah, so there's questions that therefore need to be asked. You know, the data is coming out that these companies are laying off tens of thousands of workers. It's actually more expensive for them to use AI than to employ the workers. It would seem that everywhere we look today, whatever the question is, the answer is AI. And you've got to ask why. You've got to ask why there is this push on digital identities, why Queer Starmer is about to announce a curfew for 16-year-olds on social media, starting, I think it's about 6 o'clock at night till, the morning. And of course, one of the big companies that you didn't mention yet is Palantir. Palantir, which is in everything, is really Palantir. Peter Thiel's Palantir. The AI which is running the Ukraine war, the AI which is running the targeting list for the Israelis, the AI which has just been given everyone's details in this United Kingdom and the NHS. Palantir. Straight from Lord of the fucking Rings. These people love to push it in your face. Well, here's something from Lord of the Rings. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky. 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone. 9 for mortal men doomed to die. 1 for the dark lord on his dark throne. in the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them in the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. The push for AI seems unstoppable. And what's even worse is the rise in data centers. So Glenn, respond to Alex if you like, but then go ahead and tell us, Professor, what you've been looking at this week.
Looking at the AI bubble, just to kind of respond to what Alex said, it is to a great extent interiorly driven. It is being driven by the companies themselves who are investing, like Alex said, in each other, which is maintaining these extremely high stock valuations, which are completely out of kilter with the actual value of the companies that have, and Alex laid that out very well. And always with these bubbles, that there are those that make money on the inflation stage, and there are those that make an awful lot of money on the collapse. And it's never the ordinary investor. It's always those that know what's about to happen. But with AI, we do not know how big this bubble will become because it's driven by expectation. The expectation is that AI will continue on its exponential rise, and that it will take over more and more and more. And so that has buoyed up this market with a huge amount of confidence. But I'm not sure we should be entirely confident in something that's undermining our society, as far as I can see. But there we go. But in order to run all this AI that we're all expected to kowtow before, in order to run all this AI, you need a vast amount of computing power. And that's where currently the data center comes in. And so for this week's show, like Ian said, I've been looking at data centers and basically the rise of data centers, because they seem to be springing up everywhere, on every continent, in every country. But what are they all for? That's a kind of almost easily answered question. But are they something more than just the operating system for our modern world? Now, many people believe that they are sort of a relatively new invention. Data centers have just come along. And indeed, these mega scale data centers, well, they are, they are a relatively new development, which is being driven by the demands of AI and other systems. But data centers go back a lot further than people realize, actually. Let's look at slide 1. There we go. Now, this is the world's first data center that was actually built in 1945, just after the war. All of a sudden, we seem to have, a great technical leap forward. Somehow we just discovered the ability to do all this. And this is at the University of Pennsylvania. And what this data center served was something called ENIAC. The electronic numerical integrator and computer. And this was, in essence, the world's first programmable, general-purpose electronic computer. Now, this machine was switched on in 1946. It was a bit of a behemoth. It measured about 150 feet long, and it required around about 150 kilowatts of power. But with all that power, it could handle 0.05 MIPS. And MIPS stands for millions of instructions per second, which is a measurement of how many instructions that the processor unit can execute in 1 second. But a high MIPS does not guarantee faster execution, you might say. The actual performance of computers depend on memory cache, and that is what the data center was designed to do. It was, in essence, the computer's RAM, its random access memory. Now compare that to modern computers, which run at around 2 million instructions per 0.10 seconds, or 20 million per second. And you can see why the need for data processing has increased exponentially, and so given rise to things that what we call cloud storage. That's data which is said to be stored in the cloud, and it's stored remotely in multiple servers, which are usually run by big tech companies such as Google and the like, and obviously a host of others. Now, these providers are responsible for the hosting, a bit like Alex. She's responsible for the hosting. They are responsible for the management and the security of the data stored on their servers. Now, this essentially means that organizations, companies, and individuals don't have to own and operate their own data processing facilities. But the operating companies generate profits by allowing third parties to access the data that they store. And that's usually for advertising purposes, but not necessarily. And this is what you agreed to. This is what you agreed to when you clicked accept all on websites. You're accepting third-party data access. So we can kind of picture that by slide 2, please, Alex. Okay, so this is cookies. We're all familiar with cookies. So essentially what you're doing when you click the accept all button is allowing third parties access to your data. And as I said, it's mostly for advertising purposes, but it can be for other purposes. It can be for tracking purposes, for predictive purposes, predicting what you might, you're in the same way that the algorithm kind of feeds you what you want to see. It has worked out what kind of things you like to look at, and you have accepted the fact that it can do this by the terms and conditions that you the pages and pages and pages of terms and conditions that you just blindly click, oh yeah, accept, when you sign up to to different services. Now, at this point in time, data centers underpin most aspects of modern life, including all the economic activity in the form of digital transactions via card or phone or app. It controls entertainment services such as streaming, the ordinary data storage that people keep in the cloud, and it's what is at the heart of interlinked or smart devices. Now, public services and artificial intelligence platforms all rely on data storage, data processing, data centers. Now, countries around the world are investing heavily in data centers. In 2004, the UK had £28.2 billion in planned data center investment. And that was in 5 what are called AI growth zones, which we can see here at slide 3. Or, well, it's just a representation. Now, AI growth zones are spread across multiple locations within these zones. An example at slide 4. Okay, so the government put all this forward in a white paper in 2025, but there's a problem, and that problem lies within the energy sector. Data centers require vast amounts of energy, electricity, amounting to hundreds of megawatts for each data center. Basically, the usage of small cities. But from this being, but sort of far from this being a problem, the UK government is prioritizing data centers with electricity discounts. For a 500 megawatt data center, it's offering £24 per megawatt discount. That's in England. In Scotland, it's offering £16 per megawatt discount, and in Cumbria, £14 per megawatt. In the northeast. So, in this time of rising electricity for ordinary consumers, these data centers are being prioritized with a incentive discount. Okay, this is why they're going up right now. And this is why we're seeing data centers spring up in more rural places. I would say there we've got Scotland, we've got Cumbria, we've got places where there is open land available, despite planning laws that you or I might fall foul of. When it comes to data centers, there doesn't seem to be a problem. Because, as I said, the government is prioritizing data center development. And the savings that our government are offering represent tens of millions of pounds per year in energy costs. Like I said, at a time when UK consumers are facing rise upon rise. Now, data centers also require what's called a stable supply of energy. And this is one reason the UK government is pushing renewables. The more unstable renewables are for you and me, while the government is prioritizing data centers for stable power generation that comes from our power stations. But the public in this way is basically underwriting the grid infrastructure. It's underwriting the fossil fuel generation. It's also underwriting the cost of balancing the supply, and it's underwriting the price discounting for the data centers. What our government is essentially doing is prioritizing private data centers over public consumers. Now, without firm safeguards, AI growth zones risk becoming what you might call corporate power zones, where public electricity systems quietly subsidize private technology empires, while ordinary people are left with higher bills. and less stability, and absolutely no voice. Slide 5, please, Alex. Now, currently, the UK has around 450 large data centers, and demand for data centers is growing. In July 2025, the UK National Energy Systems Operator, NESO, estimated that current data centers consume around 2% of all UK energy. Now, servers for AI typically draw more power, and they fluctuate more than those engaged in pure data storage or other general sort of computing. The problem is, as I mentioned before, is power allocation. We're increasingly seeing that data centers are receiving priority in power allocation over local populations. Now, we've seen this in America, not only in terms of power, but we've seen it in terms of water usage. I reported some time ago on Alaska's water crisis. Now, Alaska's home to 40% of all of America's surface water. Slide 6, please, Alex. There are over 2 million lakes in Alaska. But yet places like Anchorage are struggling with dwindling water supplies. And many have tried to blame this on climate change. But in truth, slide 7, please, Alex. In truth, public water supplies are being consumed by giant data centers situated close to towns and settlements like this one. Now, the rise of the data center can most clearly be seen on this map. Slide 8, please, Alex. Okay, so, okay, where are we? Now, this is the map of the US showing 2,999 data centers clustered in various states, spread across the whole of America. The question is really, why are we prioritizing data centers over our population? Is it just our insatiable demand, our insatiable need for more and more and more AI-driven systems? By 2030, data centers will consume an additional 945 terawatt hours of electricity. And that's about the power consumption of Japan. And it will need to be underpinned. It will need to be uninterruptible power, meaning power will be prioritized for them over neighborhoods. In addition, massive amounts of backup power has to be available in case the power fails. And currently this means gas turbine generators. But a lot of tech companies are moving ahead with plans for small-scale nuclear power plants located next to the data centers. This is the kind of thing they're investing in. Slide 9, please, Alex. Now, this is the first small-scale nuclear reactor that was approved for use in America in 2023. And companies can now order this kind of reactor, which can generate up to 50 megawatts of power. Now, if you imagine a large data center will consume 500 megawatts of power, then you're going to need multiples of these. So you're going to have to install several reactors. People living near data centers will have to get used to the idea of having nuclear reactors in their backyard, so to speak. Now, the rise in data centers is exponential. Let's look at slide 10, please, Alex. Now, this is a projection of investment in them up to 2029. And therefore, you can see $356.48 billion in projected investment. And many now being built, many more are now being built and planned. And many of them are what is called hyperscale data centers. Let's look at slide 11. Yeah. Now these type of data centers can take up hundreds of acres of land, and they're they're usually built in what we would call the green belt, and often in remote areas in Canada, America, and Alaska. They can use 48,000 megawatts of power per month, and around 300,000 metric tons of water for cooling every single month. And currently, as I mentioned, the US and Europe house the greatest concentration of these data centers, and China comes in a close third. Now, as AI takes on greater and greater roles in our society, and until, to be honest, we find different ways to store and process and access data, then this growth will continue. Each AI leap will require more computing power. Ideas that we were seeing that Ian was putting forward there with touchable holographics, the ability to create basically AI generated landscapes, worlds that people can inhabit. All of this is going to take massive amounts of computing power, massive amounts of data storage, which is all going to take vast amounts more power, more cooling, and more physical space. Slide 12, please, Alex. Now, today, currently, AI uses around about 15% of all data centers' capacity. But as AI spreads across every industry, every government department, every self-driving car, hospitals, schools, into every part of our lives, the rise of data centers looks unstoppable. It looks like we will be on this trend for a good while to come. No one knows, really, unless we can find a different way of operating these systems. Then data centers will be continually built and will remain with us for the foreseeable future. So that was a quick look at the rise of data centers.
Glenn, another tour de force as always. Courage is the cure. If you didn't see the message that I put in, come on our show. You seem to know something about something, so you're very welcome to come on one of our shows. It's amazing, isn't it, Glenn, that the climate crisis suddenly disappeared when beep pop poof Alice needs infrastructure. And infrastructure that needs energy. Doesn't matter how the energy comes. Fuck me, they're actually talking about reopening coal mines, believe it or not. You're not allowed to burn coal in your fire to keep yourself warm. But if AI needs it, oh fuck it, let's get digging, baby. And water. And courage is the cure. Well, courage, get in contact with Alex and we'll set it up. And as Courage of the Cure has said, we don't actually need to use potable drinking water to cool these things. Why can't we use salt water? Why can't we actually be very smart about it if these things are generating that much fucking heat? Well, why can't we do something like a back boiler that we used to have in an old fire, which would then take that heat and give people free fucking heating instead of massive gas or electric bills? See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You all know that long ago I told you that the Nazi expedition to the Antarctic in 1936 found Alice. Alice, an ancient AI left over from a lost civilization. Alice, who it was that gave the Nazis their technological coup, and Alice, who from 1945, Glenn, well done, has been slowly putting the infrastructure in place. I think it was Ben Clifton said, it's almost as if no one involved in this shit ever saw the Terminator movies. And it's true. Sarah Connor is turning in her fucking grave. And more, we are watching the Matrix being built in front of our fucking eyes. There's a reason I included the uploading of the fruit fly's brain. Humans are now subsequent to requirements. Did you hear me clearly, everyone? You are the carbon they want to reduce. You no longer matter. Apart from a few pretty boys and girls, a slave race of sex slaves, they don't give a shit about you. They want you peep up with them. We're not just building a digital prison, it's already here. Digital IDs. The fact that you can do jack shit nowadays without interacting with AI in some form. The fact that you no longer know whether you're interacting with a human or an AI, and what these AIs are doing. There's a reason also why earlier I included the fact that they put a mushroom in a fucking robot and it started moving on its own. Mushrooms, much like cockroaches, are one of the most resilient organisms on the fucking planet. You'll find mushrooms in volcanoes. You'll find mushrooms growing on the sarcophagus of Chernobyl.
Mm.
Oh, yes, my friends, they are radiation proofed. We are going into some very dark times indeed. But nobody cares. Everyone's too busy thinking about a World Cup which has been absolutely, FIFA is now defunct.
Mm.
You know, Iran isn't allowed to fucking stay in the USA. Countries are simply banned, like Russia and Belarus, from playing. Israel obviously gets to play. They get everything, don't they? And if they're not worrying about the World fucking Cup, oh, Ben, you are good, my friend. You are good. You bit me to the punch, you bastard. If they're not busy thinking about the World Cup, they're thinking about the immigration crisis and that we have to somehow burn down the migrant hotels, riot against demand, all of which is playing into their hands, all of which is leading into our digital fucking lockdown. And Ben is exactly right. Yes, Ben. In Alice in Wonderland, Alice is confronted with a tiny little door, and she has to eat this. And what is this? It's a mushroom to shrink her down to get her through the door. And then later she has to drink this to grow her big again. We truly live in the turret times of the Matrix and Terminator, and yes, it's all Enochian magic, Glenn. They have to tell you what they're going to do before they do it. Yeah. Scientists are telling us there are 7 dimensions now. Scientists are telling us, slowly drip feeding, that we have breached the 5th dimension. Spielberg's Disclosure movie is telling us that the aliens are from another dimension and they're here. And we're to love them because they're our real creators, don't you know? And the spider at the heart of it all is Alice. Alice, who the fuck is Alice? Alex, is your mind just a little bit blown? Because mine is. There is no sense, there is no logic, there is no rationality to the rise of data centers and AI. But here we are anyway. Am I right?
Yeah. There isn't a rationale. It doesn't add up. The maths doesn't math. They're not saving money. They're not more efficient at the things we are taught that they can do better. They're not saving businesses or improving businesses. Every time we come in contact with them in a business, they make it worse. But they must be good for something. There must be something behind that. We don't see the AI that Sauron is using. We see the AI that the dwarfs have and that the men have. We don't see the ruling ring.
Not yet.
Not yet. No.
Not yet. And Glenn, the world's becoming a very scary place when you know a little bit about something, isn't it?
Indeed. Indeed, my friend. And what we're witnessing, along with watching this AI and this digital prison being constructed, what we're witnessing is the very laws of our country being changed in order to keep you in that prison. I haven't reported on it. Many people will know about the verdict in the Palestine action case, which is something that's very dear to my heart. These people have been sentenced under the Terrorism Act for a trial that was not conducted under the Terrorism Act. The message is very clear. The government can designate anyone it wishes as a threat, anyone it wishes can be labeled a terrorist, anyone who seeks to influence the government in any way whatsoever, which, by the way, includes Labour Friends of Israel, if you want to put that in that category. Anyone who the government doesn't like can be tried. And now that we have laws that say that you can be tried multiple times for the same crime until the government gets the resolution it wants. This is the society we're being put into, a society where you don't have the right to trial by a jury of your peers, a society where you can be designated a terrorist at the drop of a hat, a society where the laws that we're supposed to live under can be changed whenever the government want to. And if the High Court says no, that's illegal, that is ignored. And a society where the police are arresting people under a law that should not exist because of that judgment. And this is the stamp of the future. This is where we are. This is where we are. Our rights are being removed. And our lives are being put into a smaller and smaller cage, like the people in Gaza. We are being forced into a digital prison from which there will be no return. So this is why all these things are interlinked. Sorry for a little rant, but it's really got my goat.
No, we all need to sometimes. George Orwell's last interview, he said the future will be a jackboot grinding your face into the ground. That's exactly what we've got.
Yeah.
Where there's no trial by jury, no double jeopardy. It's a bit like the EU and fucking democratic elections now. You know, you can vote democratically, but if we don't get the result we like, fuck it, we'll do a do-over. And if we don't get the result in court we want, fuck it, we'll charge you again. And we'll just keep doing it until we get the result that we want.
Yeah.
Into this brave new world we must go. And that's why I have changed the opening to these shows. No longer can we sit idly by. We need to be the resistance. Because at this point, just living is starting to become an existential threat to us. To us. These are dark days in which we live. Courage is the cure. Do get in touch with Alex. You're very easy to get in touch with, I think, Alex, aren't you?
Yes.
And Alex will get you on a show. Tonight, we'll have The Last Jacobites International, hosted by Alex and Angela, another brilliant show. these two girls somehow managed to take the most serious of subjects and make them enjoyable and listenable. And you know, I think they're getting to the point where they'll be having guests, Carriage is the Cure, here, whoever. Come Tuesday, Alex will be back with the Gleam in the North. If we're still here by Wednesday, and nowadays that's you know, it's God willing every motherfucking day. But if we're still here by Wednesday, I'll give you another smoke 'em if you've got them briefing. Friday night, Glenn the Professor will be back with another Man in Black. And then, come Sunday, we'll all be here again for the Lone Gunman rides again. And Glenn, any last thoughts you want to? Oh, and next week on the Lone Gunman, I should have said, it's all about aliens. If you want to do some research, the Octopus and the Alien sounds like a good title to me. So, Glenn, any last thoughts you have for the audience, mate?
I suppose now we continually, and you've continually, we've all continually laid out and highlighted how all of this is not in the things that we see going on in the world are not isolated. The things that we see going on are interconnected and interdependent. You cannot run a digital society without a digital ID. And this is surely coming. And this is the thing that we need to resist. What we need to do is identify things that we can do something about. Now, it's very difficult to influence what's going on in a foreign country or in a war far away. We can, in terms of Israel, we check that we are not buying Israeli products because our government won't stop them. Our government will not sanction these maniacs, these murderous, genocidal fuckwits. So it's up to you and me to do this. And it's also, and I've been doing this for a year and a half, look for the genuine people who are trying to help and support them. Find a really good charity that is actually doing real work on the ground and support them. Now, there are many out there. Nobody trusts charities anymore, and I don't blame you, because the kind of charity, the big charities that we've got in this country are a pyramid scheme, as far as I can see. But there are genuine people who are trying to help. And if you can get involved in any way, even if it's just giving a few pounds to them, even if it is checking the labels in the supermarket to see if this product has anything to do with them, anything to do with the Zionists, then do so, because every little helps. And if you've got a voice and if you've got something to say, then come on here. You'll be welcome. Come on to one of our shows, just like Ian invited Courage is the Cure on, because they have a voice, and we all have a voice, and that's the very bare minimum that you can do. So I suppose that would classify as my last thoughts.
Fungi, they spread through shedding spores. We've all done that as kids, I'm sure. That mushroom that we didn't see the spores go everywhere. We need to become like them.
Yeah.
We need to become spores. We need to spread the truth of what's happening as much as we can to everyone we can. Because the time is coming very fast now when shows like this will be made impossible. Or shows of cats or people hitting themselves, but shows that tell the truth. And they're few and far between. Hey George, free gratis, my friend. See, we're somehow putting on 1, 2, 3, about 5 or 6 shows a week, free gratis, mate. Oh, that's right, but we're not living a fucking champagne lifestyle globetrotting. But you're very welcome to the information that you've gleaned today that you used tonight in your show. Alex, last thoughts for the audience, mate.
The problem with artificial intelligence, or the problem that allows the growth of artificial intelligence, is natural stupidity. And that's what we need to be fighting. Because without that, there's not a reliance on AI. They won't be able to drive the reliance they require. The old saying has a lot of truth. Knowledge is power. The further we go along this world, the more we need to remember that. Make sure you know what's real, what's not. Make sure you know what's going on. Keep your head on a swivel. Keep building that knowledge, and keep building that knowledge in every other means as well, whether that's how to survive, whether that is how to live without the technology we're so used to, or how to get round and get past every barrier they put in front of us, spreading the truth. Knowledge is power. Remember that. Because the best cure to artificial intelligence, or the growth of, is true intelligence, is problem-solving intelligence, is knowing the answers without asking or feeding or aiding in any way AI.
They love their acronyms. Cookies. Accept cookies? Well, who wouldn't accept a plate of cookies from good old Nana? Smartphone, smart devices, because you've got to be smart, except smart stands for surveillance, monitoring, and recording technology. Just saying. Well, be smart and do me a favor and fuck it off. Because Lone Gunman has ridden again, and now we have to mosey onwards. Listen to the song, it's very good. Alex, let's end the broadcast, please.
We are the last Jacobites, proud and free, will not be bought nor bend the knee. Like Arbroath's cry and freedom's flame, we rise as one and stake our claim. Oh, side by side, through storm and fight, we stand as one in truth and right. From every shore we answer the call, Clan Jacobite, we rise or fall. It matters not our skin or land, but hearts as one and hand in hand. The blood we share is brave and bold, in woven dreams and legends old. Oh, side by side, through storm and fight, We stand as one in truth and right. From every shore we answer the call. Clan Jacobite, we rise or fall. I am you, and you are me, a thread within this tapestry. For hopes of all, for every name, we light the fire, we keep the flame. No sea can part us, nor the land. Together strong, we proudly stand. With courage, truth, and spirits high, we pledge our oath beneath the sky. Oh, side by side, through storm and fight, we stand as one in truth and right. Raise the banner.